The most famous monster in human history was a real man, and he may have been the most lied-about human being who ever lived. It's 1462. An Ottoman army marches into Wallachia, the army of the man who conquered Constantinople, the most powerful empire on earth. And it stops, not because of a wall or a river or a larger army. It stops because of what's waiting on the road ahead. Thousands impaled bodies stretching toward the horizon. The man who did this would, 400 years later, become a vampire. But here's the part you were never told. How does the man defending Europe's border against that empire become Europe's most hated villain within his own lifetime? Who decided to make him a monster, and why? And what does the world's first printing press and an Irish novelist have to do with the face you picture when you hear the name Dracula? Because almost everything you think you know about him was written by the people who needed him destroyed. His name was Vlad. His father, Vlad II, had been inducted into the Order of the Dragon, an alliance of Christian rulers sworn to fight the Ottoman Empire. That membership earned the family a name, Dracula, the dragon. Vlad III would be remembered as Dracula, son of the dragon, though in Romanian, the word carried a second meaning his father almost certainly didn't intend. Dracula is also the devil. But a title doesn't change geography. Wallachia, the land Vlad was born to rule, was a thin strip of territory crushed between two empires. To the south, the Ottomans, demanding tribute, soldiers, obedience. To the north, the Kingdom of Hungary, demanding the same. Survival meant picking a side, and then betraying it the moment it kept you alive one more winter. In 1442, that survival strategy cost Vlad his childhood. To guarantee his father's loyalty, he and his younger brother Radu were handed to the Ottoman court as hostages. Their lives were the collateral. So the future Dracula grew up inside the very empire he would spend his life trying to destroy. He learned to speak fluent Turkish. He studied their court, their politics, the way their armies moved and camped and slept. His brother Radu adapted to that world and stayed loyal to it. Vlad adapted too, but he never forgot whose son he was or what had been traded away to keep his father in line. When he finally took Wallachia's throne, he brought all of it home. Every lesson the Ottomans taught him, he would turn back on them. He didn't simply punish crime. He turned fear into infrastructure. One story about his reign has survived for over 500 years. Vlad is said to have placed a cup, solid gold, at a public fountain in his capital, Targovista. Anyone could drink from it. No one could take it. Wallachia was poor, people were hungry, and by every telling, that golden cup sat in the open square, untouched for his entire reign. Not because no one wanted it, because every single person who walked past it understood, with total certainty, what would happen to the hand that reached for it. Whether that cup is literal fact or a legend that hardened around his name, it tells you the same truth either way. This is the image Vlad wanted living inside people's skulls. Absolute order, bought with absolute terror. And it worked, first on his own people, then on an empire. June 1462. Sultan Mehmed II, conqueror of Constantinople, marches into Wallachia with an army Vlad cannot beat in daylight. So Vlad refuses to fight in daylight. On the night of June 17th, he leads a raid straight into the Ottoman camp, in the dark, hunting a single target, the Sultan's own tent. The most vivid tellings go further, that Vlad himself, fluent in Turkish from his hostage years, walked into that camp dressed as one of them, slipping past guards who had no reason to look twice, hunting Mehmed's tent with a blade. How much of that is documented, and how much is the kind of detail that sharpens with every retelling is genuinely debated. What is not debated is the morning after. The raid hit the wrong tents, missed the Sultan, and tore a slaughter through the dark so complete that when the Ottoman army advanced at dawn, the road ahead was lined with the impaled dead. So how does the man who just humiliated the most powerful empire on earth become its most famous monster? The answer is almost insultingly small. Someone stole the money. In 1463, the Pope sent a fortune to Hungary's King Matthias Corvinus, funding for a crusade against the Ottomans. Vlad, who had just proven himself the empire's most dangerous enemy, was the obvious man to lead it. Instead, Corvinus had him arrested. Why arrest your single best weapon right when you need it? Because the crusade money never reached a crusade. It vanished into Corvinus's own accounts. And when Rome started asking where its gold had gone, Corvinus needed two things: fast, a reason Vlad couldn't be used, and a villain who couldn't talk back from a prison cell. So he manufactured both. Forged letters appeared, claiming Vlad had been secretly loyal to the Ottomans all along, the perfect excuse for why he'd had to be handled. And alongside the forgeries came something the world had never seen before: mass-printed pamphlets. Gutenberg's press was barely a decade old, and one of the very first things humanity did with the technology that would carry all future knowledge was print viral horror stories about a political enemy. Woodcuts of impalements, tales of casual cruelty, copied, sold, and reprinted across the German-speaking world faster than anyone could check whether they were true. And here's the part that should put a chill on the back of your neck, because you have lived this exact story. Some of those pamphlets were true. Vlad had impaled people, including German merchants who'd crossed him, and those towns had every reason to make him sound like the devil. But true details, in the hands of someone who needs you destroyed, don't have to be lies to do a liar's work. They just have to be the only version anyone prints. A powerful man stole money. He needed a distraction, so he reached for the newest media technology of his generation and used it to bury an inconvenient man under a flood of content, some real, some fake, all of it impossible to outrun. Vlad III was cancelled to cover up an audit, 500 years before the word existed. And once a story like that starts printing, it stops mattering what's true. It only matters what spreads. Now jump forward 400 years. An Irish theater manager named Bram Stoker is writing a novel about an undead nobleman in a remote castle. He needs a name: foreign, aristocratic, faintly evil. He finds it in a travel book about Wallachia, Dracula. The book mentions, almost in passing, that the name means devil in the local tongue. That's all Stoker takes. Not the wars, not the politics, not the man. Just the sound of the name and what it supposedly means. He grafts it onto a vampire with no connection to Wallachia's border wars and publishes it in 1897. And from that moment, the name stops belonging to the prince entirely. It belongs to the monster. Vlad III ruled Wallachia for less than 7 years. The propaganda about him has ruled for over 500. But Vlad isn't the only one. History is full of people you've been taught to hate by the exact people who needed you to. The question is just, how much of what you know about history was written by the winners? And how would you ever tell the difference?